of this day. The session is titled Dialogue on Europe, so we will talk about Europe. And I suggest Italo Testa to start his moderation for the first part of this session.
Yes, this will be a joint moderation. I will moderate for half, and Maria will follow me. So welcome back to everyone. It's been a long and productive morning, and will be a long and productive afternoon as well. And but with such wonderful speakers, I think it will be for sure a pleasure. So our first speaker is our host, which is Maria Borio. So we thank her again for putting this all together, and please.
Thank you. So the title of my speech is Do I Belong to a European Generation? Imagine that it is not a woman speaking now. Imagine my voice as a filter for the many voices, identities, and life stories of those born between the years of the Vietnam War and the fall of the Berlin Wall. Imagine what was substantial to us, to grow up in a time when the idea of Europe has become a lively imaginary, an everyday breath. Imagine how, as teenagers, we were told that the world was going to be an ironic global promise, and how, while growing up, politics and economy, bringing flexibility and precariousness, we could get few nerves to grab. What I mean is a culture, the relation between unity and differences, that matters as much as freedom of movement and ideas, the value of human rights, and the very meaning of peace. I ask myself and you, isn't this the very essence of the first, maybe total European generation? I say, imagine, because one of the reasons we are here today is to make great the imagination again, to create it, and make space for a vision and a project. If poets gather to talk about Europe, they ought to devote themselves to that vision and make the value of that project great. That's why we are all political, consciously or unconsciously. It may seem a dream to imagine the future from this island, a small island in a small lake. This island makes me think of the zone beyond the 3 miles, of that space where borders and frontiers chases to exist, and where sailors are always called on to save castaways, just as castaways back at sea are always called on to save other castaways. We are all sailors and castaways on this island. Perhaps we are surrounded by ghosts of the 16th century Repubblica delle Lettere, Republic of Letters, or maybe of the 18th century literary Europe, spectres of a region of the soul which belonged to classical myths, to the humanity of the Renaissance, or to the belief in a Europe of the mind, an intellectual place, as Valéry used to say. Also a political utopia, like Mazzini's in the 19th century and Spinelli's after the Second World War. Imagine that we could, for real, be surrounded by flying iridescent allegories, all representations of Europe created by poets over the centuries and across languages, cultures, canons. What a huge figural investment. But what can we really do today, like sailors and castaways on this island, in a sort of universal space beyond the 3-mile zone? What can we do? We can open our eyes, chase away ghosts flying above our heads, and face the music of what happens. What was an idea of Europe to our fathers, as Susan's song put it, is more than an idea to us. It is true life, a chain of relations and human beings where each and every one of us know deep down in the art that something essential flows. Short-lived politics, words and actions poised by intolerance and violence affect us privately and publicly. At the same time, we feel the beat of historical memory and the need for an identity. The question I asked at the start, do I belong to a European generation, looks like it bends like basin-shaped hands, collecting water where our faces are reflected, a historical memory and identity with us right between the hands, into each other's eyes now. I have tried to be a transparent thing for you, one that could be passed through by the flux of a generation. I have tried to be a glass at once frail and strong, naked. I have tried to be the reflection of a generation raised to be European. A generation which maybe has preserved the memory of going to school in the 90s, coloring in pictures about the history of Europe or human rights with thick line pens. A generation which has learned to study, live and work beyond national borders, which has been called to face time, trying to find a reflection of herself in the water between basin-shaped hands, in order to find herself there with a history behind her back and a future ahead. When I was a child, I loved a skin orange box of books that my grandfather put on the side shelf of the fireplace. My grandfather was born in 1914. The box of books is the history of the Second World War chronicled by Winston Churchill. My grandfather knew those books by heart because they narrated a significant part of his lifetime. In 1939, after a few months in North Africa, his battalion was captured by the English and moved to India, where he remained until 1945. Every time I dry my face with a white and red Indian cloth that he carried from Bombay, an incredible strong piece of cotton, I feel and I know that those fibers give me back the lifetime of my grandfather's generation. It is the simplest of everyday routine. I want to share this with you now because I'm trying to be the translucent sheet of a generation that has been told that ours is a time of post-truth and post-humanity, resigned to the idea that there is neither past nor future, and to the rhetoric of the Western decline. A generation that knows better than the previous ones what being European actually means. And he knows it because it knows how the unity and differences are connected, and that connection is important, not only within our European dimension, our European community, but also within the delicate system of global balances. Those against Brexit have identified with a word, harmony, the importance, the need of harmony, a word that is used and abused these days. I find it really striking that this word originates in poetry. The ancient Greeks believed that the harmony holding the world together was generated by Apollo's lyra. The harmony of poetry was able to wave together all the chords of the universe. What Heraclitus regarded as the relation between contraries, a concept adopted by Christianity and developed into the modern age. So, could our European generation poise with a system of contrast between unity and differences it has absorbed deep into its senses, especially after 70 years of almost unbroken peace, and we should never forget about this. So I was saying, could our European generation claim to be without past and future, the last shred of ethnocentric, narcissistic and imperialistic idea of the West? As I have already mentioned, we are supposed to be living in a post-truth and post-human time where the rhetoric of power and masses write an universal, opaque and asphyxiated narrative all over us. They record statements like passages of grey chronicle on a tablet where everything can be cancelled without saying. We can of course say yes and be okay with coping all this. Or we could try to find, like sailors and castaways, our transparent reflections in the water collected between basin-shaped hands and see at the bottom of the well of our imagination the past, the present and the future. So, if this island is an utopian zone between the 3 miles, then let me challenge you to experience it everywhere, to embrace the harmony of unity and differences, to lend your imagination to our community. Let's look into each other's eyes now.
For reminding us of the importance of the subject of unity and difference, or of the unity and difference as well. And our next speaker is French poet Gellé. Please to have here, and please, you will speak French? I got it? Yeah. You have a microphone?
Bonjour. Ça marche? Oui. Ça marche. Ça va comme ça? Ouais. I'm sorry to speak French, but c'est une chance pour la France et c'est un cadeau pour moi d'être ici aujourd'hui en Italie. Merci. Si je regarde une carte, je peux reconnaître le pays où je suis née et où je vis, la France. Je peux dire que la France est en Europe et donc que je suis européenne. C'est une sorte d'appartenance au sein de laquelle j'ai construit une part de mon identité. Ce sont des racines qui fondent une sorte de famille, une communauté d'éducation, de culture, une façon de vivre. Si j'ai dit que c'était une chance pour la France d'être ici, c'est parce que je pense qu'elle a besoin de sortir de sa peur de perdre son identité. Elle a, je crois, besoin de lâcher un certain héritage, l'héritage de Descartes, par exemple, de sa théorie de l'animal-machine, héritage qui a eu en France de graves conséquences sur la façon de traiter le vivant. Nos appartenances de génération en génération, si elles fondent nos racines, elles conditionnent aussi notre vision du monde, notre façon de percevoir le réel, nos façons de créer nos perceptions du réel. En restant sur des visions historiques, économiques, socio-culturelles, on reste dans une appréhension du monde intellectuel et mental qui sépare tel pays d'un autre pays, tel continent d'un autre continent, qui sépare tel homme d'un autre homme, qui sépare l'homme de l'animal, qui sépare l'homme de l'arbre. La poésie, pour moi, permet une autre perception du réel qui relie, au lieu de séparer, qui relie toutes les choses qui font que le poème permet à celui qui l'écrit et à celui qui le lit non seulement de se connecter à l'épaisseur et à la complexité du réel, mais de sentir comme on ne fait qu'un avec ce qui est en face de nous. Ce qui est dedans est aussi dehors, et vice-versa. La liberté, le mouvement d'abandon et de lâcher-prise dans la langue poétique traduit et restitue non seulement un monde, celui que l'on connaît, le familier, mais il traduit et restitue aussi les mondes contenus dans le monde. Les rencontres et l'alchimie des mots entre eux dans le poème permettent d'entrer en résonance avec soi et les mondes avec dedans et dehors, dont les frontières sont poreuses. Je pense à cette phrase de Marina Tsvetaeva qui disait que en poésie, le plus important, ce n'est pas le sens, mais la résonance. Et finalement, résonance, c'est aussi un terme de science physique qui dit comme ce qui arrive à un atome agit sur ce qui arrive à un autre atome, même s'ils sont séparés par des milliards de kilomètres. Des travaux, d'ailleurs, en ce moment, vont dans ce sens, menés par des maîtres spirituels, mais aussi par des physiciens, des scientifiques. Il ne s'agit pas de surnaturel ni d'utopie, il s'agit au contraire de naturel au sens premier du terme, de poétique, de relier à ce qui en soi est plus grand que soi et qui est aussi en dehors de soi. Parce que chaque petite action et chaque intention se met au présent a des conséquences sur le reste du temps à venir et sur le paysage autour. L'espace et le temps sont en effet une seule et même chose au bout du chemin d'éveil. Il s'agit pour moi dans la poésie d'une puissance vibratoire, capable de nommer non seulement le visible, mais aussi l'invisible, ce qui est caché, ce qui est derrière, ce qui est dessous, ce qui nous traverse et qui est plus puissant que nous. Je me sens nourrie et enracinée par un terreau qui dépasse les frontières humaines. Je me sens nourrie autant par Jacques Prévert, Bachot, Einstein, Camus, Jung, Jésus-Christ, Bouddha, les légendes inuites, les savoirs mayas, aztèques, tibétains, les premiers brins d'herbe, toute l'eau des océans, des nappes phréatiques. Je sais aussi que je suis le renard que j'ai vu hier soir et que le renard est aussi un peu moi. Je crois que la grande singularité, la diversité des identités, elle est précieuse et essentielle, pas pour séparer, pas pour écraser, pas pour entrer en compétition, dans la peur de perdre ce que l'on a, mais bien pour éprouver que plus on creuse et on assume son identité spécifique et unique, plus on prend conscience que l'on contient à l'intérieur de soi tout, absolument tout. Un grand travail aujourd'hui est à faire d'une autre façon d'être au monde, non pas dans le débat ni la revendication, mais dans l'être au monde, simplement, avec une énergie de gratitude, de pardon. Si ce travail est urgent, c'est parce que le sort de la planète, au sens écologique, en dépend. En effet, ce travail, chemin, va de pair avec une conscience aiguë de faire partie d'un grand tout, de la nature environnante. C'est l'urgence de changer le rapport à la terre et au vivant. Servir et non plus exploiter, respecter la plus petite forme de vie, parce que ce respect déclenchera celui pour le reste des formes de vie, le reste des autres formes de vie, y compris humaines. C'est un travail que chacun peut faire à l'intérieur de soi et qui aura des conséquences pour le reste de la planète. Voilà. Merci.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to say that resonance is a very interesting intercultural notion, which, well, kind of resonates between German, French culture, and my Art Montrose are coining it, and Charles Taylor applying to romantic poetry. So I think it's good to see it vibrating between us. Unfortunately, Marco Giovenale could not make it to be here with us, so we go to the next speaker, who is the Italian poet Federico Italiano, who is on my right side, so thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Isola. If you take a map of Europe, made approximately in the 16th century, you will probably not find the definition of borders. There are some maps in the 17th century, for example, Jean Bleu map of Europe. You see some colors, not really precise definition of territoriality. And actually, until the end of the 19th century, you could cross any border without having documents. It's somehow a very recent invention to show to which country you belong. I wouldn't say it's okay, it's bad, we should do it exactly as we did. Somehow in the EU now we are living in the same, let's say, paradigm. If you take a plane, you go to France, you don't have almost to show anything. It's enough if you have your barcode on the ticket. What I want to say is that the question of unity of Europe is also part of a rhetorical approach to what this geographical and spiritual construction Europe is. Europe begins as a dream, as a mythos, as a mythological narration, and still lives on as a kind of utopia. It has been lacerated and let's say almost destructed completely in many occasions. But then again, look at the map in the 16th century. You don't have any borders. And you didn't even have the question of belonging to language. Also, language as a part of the national identity is something pretty new. What I want to say with it is that its own way of thinking Europe, that it already creates borders and differences as a part of discussion we have. We accept the question of border as it would be something natural. It is not. There are probably natural borders given by natural geomorphologies. It's okay. But it's not something anthropological given. It's not a given. It's something we construct. In this sense, when Jan and I, we try to anthologize what we try to call European poetry, we didn't really look up at the construction of the political borders of what we call Europe today. In this sense, you will find in this anthology of European poetry, the country as Israel. You'll find obviously Turkey and Armenia and Georgia could say, well, they actually are in Asia. What's Asia? Where does Asia begin? And where does Europe begin? And exactly in this contrast, you will find your own answer. When can you speak about European poetry if not using only the categories of literature? For example, if you take an Israeli poet and you try to understand his or her poetry, you will see that one of his her main references is a poet called Yehuda Amichai. Yehuda Amichai was born in Würzburg, and his first language was German. And almost the whole contemporary Israeli poetry written between the 40s and the 90s, and also obviously contemporary poetry, is somehow based on this tradition, which is something that we can call like a web of intersection, intertextualities. As much as I love Palestinian poetry, we had to decide, shall we put them in mythology or not? It is only a literary choice. Their references are wonderful, but they are something else. It starts with Hafez, Persian poetry, Arabic poetry, and we could, in a sense, accept there is a difference, which is a wonderful difference, something that we can learn every day from. But it's exactly the point where, without considering the very the big problem of so we had not probably something we can call objective difference, but something that we can understand from the perspective of poetry. So there's and I will already finish my intervention. There are many people, and it would be fantastic to have a little bit of conversation at the end, as we did this morning. Somehow there is language in Europe that bring us together. I don't want to quote Umberto Eco, I'm not such a big fan of Umberto, but he said something very, very important, which is probably translation is language of Europe. Also the biggest evolution in the history of every single country, literary tradition, are the consequences of new translation coming in the single traditions. In Italy as well. For example, if we didn't have Bertolucci translating American or English-speaking poetry, we would have probably another kind of knowledge change. But anyway, we had a couple of weeks ago, because everybody knows it, I see it from Vienna, I live in Vienna, so I could read articles on it from also other perspectives. We have this big case in our wonderful Mediterranean Sea, probably the biggest watery century, with the case of Caron Larachate, which is not just a captain, a ship captain, which somehow, you could say, the antonomy or the feature of a translator was something that transposes ideas and concepts. In a sense, Europe should even praise or do for this understanding of transposing, of bringing to a safer side. And this actually is what Europe always has been, also in times of wars and of many, many awful things. So we should go back to praising not just the person, the figure, the symbol, but the act of transposing and translating, because this is exactly the core of what Europe is and as I think should be. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you also for reminding us of the critical character of the very idea of European poetry and talking of Europe as a kind of reconstruction of previous constructions. So, our next